Thank you. Okay, calling to order this special board meeting of the Pacific Groves Unified School District Board of Education. We are going to begin with our call to order, and then I will move on for our land acknowledgement. As we begin this meeting, it's important to pay respect to and acknowledge that we are on the traditional land of the Ohlone, Costanoan, and Esalen people, and additionally, pay respect to elders both past and present. Can we please have a roll call, Dr. Adamson?
Absolutely. President McNary.
Here.
Clerk Shamas.
Here.
Trustee Hazen.
Here.
Trustee Otmar. Here. And Trustee Wax.
Here.
Thank you. With all 5 trustees present in person, we have a quorum and can do our business tonight. Item D is next on our agenda, and that is the adoption of the agenda. I'll look to you first, Dr. Adamson, for any updates.
There are no changes to the agenda.
Thank you. We will next go out to public comment on the adoption of the agenda this evening. Okay, seeing no one in the room and no one online, no public comments. Is there any board discussion on the adoption of the agenda? Okay, seeing none, if anyone would like to make the motion.
I'll be happy to make a motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you, Trustee Hazen. Motion made by Trustee Hazen.
I'll second.
And a second from Trustee Wax. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Motion passes unanimously. Next up, we will identify the topics for this evening's closed session agenda. Item A is a confidential student matter. Item B is public employee discipline dismissal, release, leave, complaint under Government Code Section 54957. Are there any public comments on the closed session topics for this evening? Okay, and with that, we will now adjourn to closed session and return at 6:30. Thank you. Okay, we are reconvening in open session. This is our regular board meeting, our special board meeting, and we have a special group of people with us here this evening. I think that's why I stumbled over my words. The first thing we do when we return from closed session, which we were just in, is report out. So this evening, with regard to item A, the confidential student matter, information was received by the board and direction was given. With regard to item B, we did not get to that item and we'll take it up later on this evening. Next, we have the Pledge of Allegiance, and Trustee Wax, would you lead us this evening? Thank you. Okay, at this time, I will be turning it over to Dr. Adamson to begin our Employee of the Year recognition.
Well, thank you so much, President McNary. I'd like to start by just saying good evening to everyone here. Thank you all so much for being here. I see lots of familiar faces, but also faces that maybe not so familiar because you're here supporting your loved ones, and how wonderful for that. So thank you all for being here to join us in recognition of these incredible employees. Before we start announcing each one individually, I just want to say how proud I am of the process that we followed this year. When we launched our Employee of the Year program in January, within, I think the first week, we had an astounding response from all of our employees. And I think that is what I'm most proud of about this program, is this individuals who were nominated for Employee of the Year through all the various categories, they were nominated by their own teammates. So this was truly a ground up process, and it was just really incredible and so inspiring to read those nominations as they came in. And so part of that process, we had a total of, goodness, I think it was 87 nominees. And then through that, we identified a committee of volunteers from various staff members of all categories who came together and took time, a whole evening here in the boardroom. We had dinner, but really to review each of those nominations individually. And that was such a privilege to be a part of, to hear individuals talking about their own team members, to hear some in the room who didn't even know some of those names on that paper, but really got to learn about and get to know those employees through what others were saying about them. And what was equally wonderful about that process is just how organic that was and how we all had consensus at the end. But again, that is a lot of employees being nominated, and it's absolutely my pleasure to be able to recognize you all here along with our Board of Education. You all know who you are. We had a chance to recognize you at each of your sites, but this is really just to make it a little bit more formalized. And so again, my apologies because they hated this when we did this on the day at their sites. Now they get to do it all over again, and they get to hear all the wonderful things that their teammates have spoken and said about them and the reasons that they're here this evening. So with that, we are going to go ahead and move on. We're going in order. We're starting with our elementary school. We are starting with Forest Grove, and we have a slide for each employee. And what I am going to ask is that when your name is called, if you wouldn't mind, you're going to come up. I'm going to ask our Board of Trustees if you wouldn't mind coming to the front, and they're also going to hate this because this also means they have to stand here through each of these, but I know they're so excited to recognize and honor each of you. So when your name is called, I'm going to ask you to come up to the front. President McNeary has a pin of recognition that we're going to give each of you. You've all received your certificates, so we can't give those again tonight, but we wanted to honor you with these special pins, which are going to become part of our tradition each year as we continue this wonderful program. So thank you to our trustees. And I am going to ask, as each employee is called up, if you are the principal or the direct supervisor of that individual, if you wouldn't mind coming up and joining our trustees to congratulate each one. So because we're starting with Forest Grove, Principal Arbroon, would you like to come up and stand alongside? And yes, why don't we have our members of cabinet come up as well, since you are here? Dr. Hagquist, Chief Rogerman, do you want to come up and join? And Executive Director Yolanda? Okay. All right, so our first slide, please. So I'm starting with our classified employee of the year for each school site. We had one classified and one certificated nominee. Classified employee of the year, please put your hands together and help welcome to the front, Christine Gruber. Congratulations. And while she is shaking hands, I'm going to be saying some wonderful things about her. And again, each of these scripts are the exact words that were used by those who nominated each of these individuals. Christine is a true champion of belonging. She has created a safe and magical haven where every student feels welcomed and valued the moment they walk through the door. Her library reflects her spirit, filled with the whimsy of Disney, a wonderful sense of humor, and an open door for every child. Christine goes above and beyond to make sure students always have a place where they feel comfortable and connected. She keeps the library open during lunch so students have somewhere to go, read, relax, and simply feel that they belong. But what makes Christine truly special is the way that she connects with students. She knows them, she listens to them, and she creates a space where they feel seen and supported. Beyond the school day, Christine continues to strengthen our community as a member of the Board of Directors for Youth Ambassadors, further demonstrating her commitment to supporting young people. Christine is caring, fun, deeply dedicated, and always looking for ways to make things even better for our students. Because of her, every child who walks into the Forest Grove Library knows they have a place where they belong. One more time, let's put our hands together for Christine Gruber. And we're going to take a quick photo, which I'm going to join for. All right. I believe that our certificated employee of the year for Forest Grove, Mary Quindamole, who is our incredible intervention teacher, is not able to be present tonight. But we have a lovely photo of her, and this was all talked about and presented with the entire school student body. So we miss her deeply tonight. All right, so I think with that, we're going to move on to thank you, Principal Arbroom, for joining us. We're going to move on to Robert Down, and we have two employees we want to recognize. Unfortunately, here too, Mr. Overstreet, Eddie Overstreet, who is a wonderful custodian for Robert Down, was unable to be here this evening. But once again, we got to recognize him and read all the wonderful things about him in front of the whole student body. So I'm going to move then on to our certificated employee of the year for Robert Down. Please help me welcome and congratulate and welcome to the front, Heather Zunguzi. Heather embodies the very essence of belonging in everything that she does. Through her work supporting students in intervention and those with 504 plans, she ensures that every learner feels supported, valued, and capable of success. Heather has an incredible ability to motivate students while creating a safe and encouraging learning environment where they feel comfortable taking risks and growing academically. Her calm and steady presence helps students feel supported, especially when they may be facing challenges in their learning. Heather's professionalism, her kindness, and patience make a tremendous difference for both students and colleagues. She takes time to listen, collaborates closely with teachers, and demonstrates a deep understanding of the needs and stresses that both students and staff may experience throughout the school day. Through her compassion, her dedication, and commitment to student success, Heather helps create a school culture where students know they belong and where they're supported in reaching their full potential. Her work truly reflects our core values of belonging, safety, and prosperity, and we are incredibly fortunate to have her as part of the Robert Down and PGUSD community. Once again, congratulations to Heather.
Is that?
Okay, we are moving now on to our middle school. We are going to start with our classified employee of the year. Please help me congratulate and welcome to the front, Melissa Gibson. Melissa truly embodies our culture of we and the core value of belonging in particular. She goes above and beyond every single day to ensure that students, staff, and families feel supported and included in the many activities that make middle school such an important and memorable time in a student's life. She plays a vital role in supporting our athletics and student activities programs, assisting coaches and our athletic director with student rosters, physicals, and sports forms to ensure every student has the opportunity to participate. She also manages our Go Fan ticketing system, preparing each home game and even training parent volunteers who help welcome families at the door. What truly stands out about Melissa is the care that she takes to make sure no student is left out. She works tirelessly to ensure paperwork is completed on time, communicates important information clearly to students and families, and personally connects with students to help them understand what they need to do to participate. She's often the person helping direct traffic, answering questions, and supporting everyone involved in those games and activities. Through her dedication, her organization, and kindness, she creates an environment where students feel welcomed and supported. Her work strengthens the sense of belonging, safety, and prosperity that defines our culture of we, and we are grateful for the positive impact she has on the Pacific Grove Middle School community. Once again, congratulations to Melissa Gibson. All right, we are now moving on to our certificated employee of the year. Please help me congratulate by putting your hands together and welcoming to the front, Mr. Chris Avadesian. Chris embodies a rare and powerful combination of professional grace, kindness, and quiet leadership. Whether working with students or colleagues, he ensures that every individual feels seen, heard, and valued, reflecting the very heart of our culture of we. As both an English and leadership teacher, he demonstrates a deep and genuine commitment to the students of Pacific Grove Middle School. His calm demeanor makes him a natural voice of reason during high-pressure moments and brings a sense of stability and reassurance to those around him. In meetings, Chris consistently offers thoughtful and steady insight. He has the remarkable ability to guide conversations toward solutions while ensuring that everyone's voice is represented, respected, and included. Perhaps most importantly, Chris approaches every challenge with positivity and integrity, focusing not on complaints, but on how he can support others and help the entire school community move forward. Through his leadership, his compassion, and unwavering commitment to students and colleagues, he exemplifies our core values of belonging, safety, and prosperity. Please help me once again congratulate Mr. Chris Avedesi. All right. We are moving now to our high school, and we are going to begin with our classified employee of the year. Please help me welcome to the front and congratulate Mr. Kent Latham. Well, Kent perfectly embodies our district values of belonging. When he stepped into the College and Career Center role, he didn't simply fill the position, he reimagined it. With proactive energy, creativity, and an infectious enthusiasm, he transformed the space into a hub where students feel welcomed, supported, and excited to explore their futures. What makes Kent especially impactful is his approachability. Students gravitate to him because he is fun, genuine, and deeply invested in their successes. The College and Career Center is not just an office, it's a place where students want to be. I can attest to that. Ken takes the time to connect with students individually, carving out meaningful one-on-one conversations that help guide them toward their goals and after high school. Whether helping a student navigate college applications, career pathways, or simply offering encouragement, Kent ensures every student feels seen and supported. He's also a dedicated ally and advocate, especially for students who may be feeling uncertain about their place on campus. He works intentionally to ensure that our most vulnerable students feel safe, valued, and connected. Because of Kent, countless students at Pacific Grove High School know that they have someone in their corner and that they truly belong here. Once again, congratulations to you, Kent. All right, moving on to our certificated employee of the year for Pacific Grove High School. Please help me welcome to the front and congratulate Mrs. Laura Lee Theron. Laura Lee brings the wisdom of more than 20 years of teaching experience, and she uses that knowledge to lift up everyone around her. She is widely known as a trusted go-to colleague, someone staff turn to for guidance, advice, and thoughtful perspective when challenges arise. As a leader within our Teachers Association, Laura Lee works tirelessly to ensure that teachers' voices are heard. She listens carefully, advocates thoughtfully, and approaches challenges with clarity and purpose. Her leadership is firm, collaborative, and always focused on strengthening our school community. Inside the classroom, Laura Lee has an incredible ability to make complex subjects engaging and meaningful for her students, even for seniors who may already be focused on their next chapter beyond high school. She continually finds innovative ways to make learning relevant and exciting. Her work with the mock trial program and the close-up Washington, D.C. program demonstrates the extraordinary lengths she goes to create powerful opportunities for our students. Through these experiences, Laura Lee helps students develop confidence, critical thinking skills, and a deeper understanding of civic engagement. Laura Lee is also someone who believes deeply in supporting the whole student. Whether cheering on students at events, advocating for their opportunities, or helping them navigate challenges, she consistently prioritizes belonging, safety, and student voices. She's respected by her colleagues, admired by her students, and deeply valued across our district. Much of the work Laura Lee does happens quietly behind the scenes, but its impact is felt throughout the Pacific Grove High School community. Once again, congratulations to Laura Lee. All right. Our adult school employee of the year, unfortunately, Barbara Kraus, was also unfortunately not able to be here, but we also got to really recognize her at the adult school, and she had her family there. There was a really cute picture of her with her son, and so just that was wonderful for her. And you know, you'd be amazed if you were to learn her age. And I'm just going to go back and look at. I know that she's very proud of it, so she won't mind. But 97th birthday she just celebrated just a couple of weeks ago. Pretty amazing. And she's got the energy of a 30-year-old, and probably even a high school student. So there we go. All right. It is my pleasure at this time to recognize our classified, for the next slide, classified employee of the year. Please help me congratulate and welcome to the front, Vanessa Villapel-Pando. Vanessa works with students who have some of the most complex and significant needs in our district. Yet she approaches every single day with patience, compassion, and an unwavering belief in the potential of every student that she serves. She's a true champion of belonging. She has an incredible ability to bring students together and create moments of genuine inclusion. On the playground, it's common to see students approach the children she supports and simply ask, "Do you want to play?" That kind of kindness doesn't happen by accident. It happens because Vanessa models it every single day. Students naturally gravitate toward her. If Vanessa is on the playground, you'll almost always find students gathered around her, asking questions, joining activities, and wanting to be part of the positive energy that she brings. She's also a fierce advocate for students who cannot always advocate for themselves. She works with students who have significant medical and behavioral needs and supports them with extraordinary patience and care. Even on the hardest days, Vanessa shows up with a smile, encouragement, and a commitment to making sure that every student feels safe, supported, and valued. Her impact extends beyond the classroom. In the adult transition program, the pride and joy that she shows when her students walk across the stage at graduation is unforgettable. It's the kind of pride that feels less like a staff member celebrating a student and more like a family member celebrating someone that they deeply love. It's that kind of community Vanessa helps create for all of us, one that reflects our culture of we and our core values of belonging, safety, and prosperity. Once again, congratulations to Vanessa Villapel-Pando. All right, we are now moving on to the district office, and it is my pleasure to announce our district office classified employee of the year, Jeff Stutzman. Please have him come to the front. Jeff is the kind of person every school hopes to have on their team. When something needs fixing, whether it's a broken sewer line, a crack in the concrete, a damaged floor, even a cell phone that has somehow fallen down a gym grate, Jeff shows up ready to solve the problem. What sets Jeff apart is not just the breadth of what he does, but how he does it. He works tirelessly, approaching every task with a positive attitude, a friendly wave, and always a moment to check in with the people around him. When you call Jeff, he comes. That reliability has made him someone our staff and our community know that they can count on. His support extends far beyond day-to-day maintenance work. He is present at countless district and community events, helping with setup, troubleshooting issues throughout the day, and ensuring everything runs smoothly behind the scenes. Whether it's a school event, a community gathering, or something like Butterfly Bazaar, Jeff is often the person quietly making sure everything works the way that it should. Through his dedication, his dependability, and the pride that he takes in his work, Jeff demonstrates our core values of belonging and safety every single day. Because of Jeff, our campuses are safer, our events run smoother, and our community feels supported and safe. Once again, congratulations to Jeff Stutzman. I would just like to add, while he's taking his position, is that Jeff was also our nominee for Classified Employee of the Year that we nominated to the County Employee of the Year program. And he actually won and was selected as the custodial in the custodial category. So that picture of him with his family is a check for $500 that our district superintendent, Dr. Gus, came to actually present to him here in the boardroom a few weeks ago. He had no idea. It was a complete surprise. But we will be actually recognizing him at an upcoming event for that incredible award. So again, congratulations to you for that as well, Jeff. All right, and now we have our Manager of the Year, and it is my pleasure to congratulate and invite to the front Mr. Robert Silveira. Congratulations, Robert. Over the past 3 years, Robert has done far more than manage a department. He has led a true transformation. What was once a program focused primarily on convenience has evolved into a food service program centered on quality, nutrition, and pride in what we serve our students. Under Robert's leadership, our cafeterias now offer meals that are fresh, flavorful, and thoughtfully prepared. Students are enjoying dishes like authentic chicken tinga, barbecue brisket, homemade pasta sauces, and expanded salad bars with fresh fruits and vegetables, many grown right here in our own Robert Down garden and across other campuses. But perhaps even more remarkable than the menu is the culture Robert has built amongst his team. Moving from reheating processed food to preparing meals from scratch requires tremendous effort and skill. Robert has inspired his team to embrace that challenge with enthusiasm and pride. Today, there's a visible sense of energy and ownership behind our serving counters. Staff know that they're serving something special, and students and staff alike have noticed the difference. Robert is also a hands-on leader. You will often find him in the kitchen, developing recipes, working alongside his team on the serving line, or listening to feedback from students and staff. He even invites students and staff to sample new menu items before they are introduced, ensuring that the entire community has a voice in reshaping the program. His leadership has also improved logistics and access to meals through innovations like mobile food stations, helping reduce wait times so students can spend more time on their lunch during their lunch period actually enjoying their meal. Robert's work nourishes far more than our students' bodies. It helps build community, pride, and belonging across our district. Please join me in congratulating once again Mr. Robert Silveira. And I think our last picture is one thing I did not mention for Laura Lee Gaona. She was nominated as our Certificated Employee of the Year that was also brought forward to the County Employee of the Year, Teacher Employee of the Year, and we'll also be honoring her at that same event coming up. So once again, congratulations to you, Laura Lee. Just an incredible group, and what a privilege it is for me to get to be here. And all I am doing is relaying the words and the incredible things that have been pointed out and noticed by each of your colleagues. But it is a privilege for me to be the one to relay those messages, and a privilege for us here to recognize each of you today. At this time, I would like to invite everyone to the front. We'd like to do one big group photo. I don't know how this is going to look, but with all of us, we're going to somehow get us in. If all of our employees of the year could please come up to the front and we can do a group photo. A big round of applause for them once again. So at this time, I'm going to those are happy sounds. I'm going to invite all of you. We have a wonderful reception of some snacks and treats that have been put together by our HR department, by Angela and Carrie O'Sullivan together. Thank you both for the time you did for that. And I'm just going to invite everyone to partake in some good food, in conversation. I'm inviting any of you with your families, if you want to take some photos up here as well, please take the time to do that. But let's just enjoy one another for the next half hour. So again, thank you for being here. Congratulations. Employees of the year, you get to go ahead and start eating first. So please go help yourselves. Thank you.
Okay, we took a short break after our Employee of the Year recognition. During that time, the board went back into closed session to finish up the remaining items on the closed session agenda. So I will report out the action taken in closed session. The board, with regard to item B, public employee discipline, dismissal, release, leave complaint under Government Code Section 54957. The board voted to approve a resignation agreement with employee number 162114. The vote was unanimous. The board also voted to approve a resignation agreement with employee 162115. The vote was unanimous. And next up on our agenda is item 4, the consent agenda. Items on consent are routine, and this evening our consent agenda is one whole item, the out of county overnight activities. Are there any public comments on the one item on our consent agenda this evening? Okay, thank you. Board, is there any discussion on consent? If not, I just would look out there if anyone would like to make the motion.
Also move.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. Motion is made by trustee Otmar and seconded by trustee Hazen. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any noes? Okay, motion carries 5-0. Thank you, everyone. The next item on our agenda is under the action section, and it is resolution number 1195, authorization for California State Preschool Program relocation and licensing application. And I believe we have Principal Arbron from Forest Grove to present. Thank you.
Good evening, Abby Arbron, principal at Forest Grove. At the beginning of the school year, our state preschool program was temporarily relocated to the David Avenue location due to licensing requirements. We are now in the final steps of bringing the program back to Forest Grove, which we believe will better serve our students and families by connecting them to our elementary campus. This resolution allows us to submit the required licensing application to make that move official. I'm asking you for your approval so that we can move forward with this transition and continue providing strong, cohesive preschool experiences to our youngest learners.
Thank you. We will first go out to public comment on this item. Being very quiet room and online. I'll bring it back up to the board for any discussion or questions for Principal Arbron? Clerk Shamos?
Yes, about the site supervision, it's on page 80 of our packet. My question is the supervision defined? Because there was a problem when the special ed teacher was separated from the preschool, and then it was brought together. There were two teachers there. And I know that there were confusion about the roles that are being played in that classroom when you have two teachers coming together. And so I think they were worked out, but seeing this listed like this, with someone listed as a site supervisor and the second one listed as coming in to take a person's place when they're not there. I just wanted to make sure that there's clearly defined roles for the supervisor versus the other teacher that's there.
Do you want to take it or do you want me to?
Both speak to it. I just want to be sure I'm understanding you're talking about the supervisory nature of one of the teachers, right? Who is,
Yes,
as
I mean-
the lead teacher, right?
Yes, if you want to call it the lead teacher, but here in the resolution, it calls it site supervision. And then it names the person as a site supervisor.
Mhm.
And then it's the second bullet says, in the absence of the site supervisor, another name of the other teacher is designated
into
to act on their
position.
behalf.
Yeah.
So I'm just wanting it to be clear, like who's the supervisor, so to speak, of the classroom.
Yeah, well, I think we've done a really good job. I know, Principal Arbron wouldn't necessarily be able to speak to how that had occurred and how that happened last year because she wasn't overseeing the program, but I've been able to see,
Right, that's what
we learned a lot
Yeah,
from,
okay.
last year. And really, I think we've been able to implement a lot of, changes as a result to make it much more, defined and clear. And I think that's where, that's the part you can speak to, Principal Arbron, and, from your experience and your oversight.
And I just wanted to address that licensing determines a site supervisor different than how we might as a district. So no employee is necessarily overseeing another, as
Mhm.
noted in that packet. But that is the name that licensing has given them.
Okay.
So I am supervising the program and am evaluating and supporting all staff. They do have defined roles in terms of what they need to do, but they're not necessarily dictating how to run the site. That's being taken on as director by me.
Okay. Okay, so that's clear. Okay, thank you.
Trustee Hazen?
Yeah, I'll just say quickly, this is a perfect example, I think, of making lemons out of lemonade, but I think I'm going to go the other way around, making lemonade out of lemons, because you guys did such a good job with transition, and it's really exciting to see them, coming back to Forest Grove and with fanfare, all the families involved too. So thank you for the hard work in the short time frame in doing that.
Thank you, Principal Arbron.
Thank you.
If there is no further board discussion, I'll look to the board for a motion to approve this resolution.
I'll move to approve the resolution number 1195, the authorization for California State Preschool Program relocation and licensing application.
Thank you, Trustee Wax.
Go ahead and second that.
And a second from Trustee Hazen. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any noes? Okay, motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Principal Arbron. And board. Item B on our agenda is the parcel tax survey. Assistant Superintendent Jorn and Dr. Adamson, this is your item.
Yes, it is. And really, we're bringing this back just as a formality. At our last meeting, you'll recall, we had Dale Scott give a presentation on what the process is for us to even look into considering, adding the voting of a parcel tax to our November ballot. And there was great discussion, but definitely there was direction from the board that was given to Dale Scott at that time to really proceed with a survey of the community
community. There is a related cost, to that. So really, I think we just want to ensure that there is, we take a vote to formally, give that direction as he, begins that process.
Thank you, Dr. Adamson. And looking at the staff report for this item, the estimated cost is not to exceed $35,000 for the community survey.
Correct.
Okay. Is that's from Dale Scott?
Correct.
Thank
Yes.
you. First, we will go out to public comment. Is there anyone who would like to make a public comment on this agenda item? Okay, thank you. Back to the board. Board, any discussion on the parcel tax survey? It's mostly just to formalize the direction we gave and proceed. Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I'll just say, I mean, again, it always stinks putting money into something like this, but this is this is coming about as, when we've been asked to figure out ways as a district to increase our income stream. That's the due diligence we're doing. So again, it's not something we've taken lightly in approving this. And I do think it's for the better good, whatever comes out of it. So I'll just
Thank
say
you.
that as a comment.
Absolutely. Any other board members wishing to comment? Okay. Then we will need a formal motion to approve the engagement of Dale Scott and Company to conduct a community survey with regard to a parcel tax. I'll be happy to make that motion. Would someone like to second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Clerk Shamas. Motion is made by President McNary and seconded by Clerk Shamas. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any noes? Okay, motion carries. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Dr. Adamson, for taking this step. The next item on our agenda will be the rest of our meeting, and that'll be our information discussion study session on the LCAP, another acronym, Local Control and Accountability Plan, Community Update with Dr. Hagquist. And I believe for purposes of the study session, we will be shifting to the smaller tables. So just a short break to reorganize ourselves.
Lovely.
Okay.
Good. Thank you.
Pardon? All right, yes. Dr. Adamson's going to be the note taker again, as she has been doing at all of our LCAP input meetings. Yes. A lot of the quotes that show up in the report are, directly from your fingers.
I think we're ready to begin when you are, Dr. Hagquist.
Sure. Good evening, trustees. Larry Hagquist, Executive Director of Educational Services, here to present the Local Control Accountability Plan Board Study Session Report 2025-2026 for the development of the 2026-2027 Local Control Accountability Plan. This slide right here, slide 2, is an agenda of what I'll be going over in this report. This agenda basically mirrors the table of contents, which can be found on page 2 of the report. And for anybody following along on their computers, that would be page 15 of the board packet. Please note that I've also provided a copy of the slideshow with space available for you to take notes. My intention is to go through all of the slides first and then open it up to questions or comments that you may have about each one, and we can go back through the slides if necessary. So the presentation will start with just a quick review of the background and purpose of the LCAP, and then I will quickly show some slides which you have already seen from the mid-year LCAP presentation. And if you attended any of the input events, you have seen these slides as well. They're kind of the heart of the LCAP presentation. They come from the mid-year report that was presented to the board on February 26th. I will follow with an LCAP development timeline, followed by the quantitative and qualitative data, which I know that you will all be interested in, that was used for this report. Starting with a little background and purpose. The LCAP is a 3-year plan that outlines the goals, actions, services, and expenditures to improve student outcomes, and especially student outcomes for some of our most marginalized student populations. It is called a local plan because it is developed to serve local needs identified by the data that we collect and also informed by the input from our local community. So if we have worked diligently to gather that data, analyze the data, and to provide many, many opportunities for our community to inform our report and our process of LCAP development. Now for the mid-year LCAP slides, which you've all seen. I'm going to go quickly through these because many of us have seen these several times. So I'm not going to spend too much time going back through all of the goals. I will remind you that we have 4 goals. The first goal is an academic goal. The second goal is a social emotional learning goal. The third goal deals with support systems for students. And the fourth goal is our cultural proficiency goal. The language in each one of these goals, there's a lot of overlap in the language, and what you see here, I've highlighted words to kind of indicate that overlap. And I did want to highlight some of those phrases like culture of we, families working together, families feeling welcome, the word safety, nurturing, culturally responsive. This is language that you see in all of our goals because we do believe in whole child instruction. We believe that there's an important relationship between social emotional health and cognitive performance. We believe that a sense of safety, a sense of support and belonging help to nurture academic growth. And so there is deliberate overlap in the language of these goals. Along with the goals, we have metrics that in the LCAP itself, there are many more metrics, but these are some that we like to highlight for our community in our presentations. For goal number 1, the academic goal, we see graduation rate, A through G, and CTE completion rate, and AP pass rate. When you look at graduation rate, you see a steady year-by-year increase, which is very positive news for us. With regard to A through G completion rate, you see a yellow arrow there. That means it remained relatively flat. It's green if you see improvement. It's red if it's going down. But please note that that's score of 57.3% was 37.2% in 2022-2023. So while the year by year might be flat, we do see growth since the beginning of this LCAP cycle. And regarding CTE, you see a red arrow there. This is definitely an area of growth and focus for us. We will be adding back an information and communication technology pathway that was lost due to teacher attrition. And one of the things that I spoke about with regard to career technical education was some of the challenges we have in terms of attrition and hiring. Is some very specific credential work. So sometimes when you lose a staff member that is part of that CTE department, you lose the whole program for a little while, and it takes time to rebuild. And we are rebuilding those pathways. Just a heads up, we do expect another drop in CTE performance next year, but followed by what we think will be a big increase in the following year, in 2027, 2028. Regarding the AP pass percentage, that's a star.
What's the reason for the expected drop next year?
We just don't have right now. We don't have the pathway. The pathways currently present that's going to help the students complete those pathways, and so we have a new position with Kimberly Schertz that is kind of managing that CTE pathway as a TOSA right now, and this comes from information directly from her. And there's a lot of detailed data. I have a whole separate report that we've looked into that helps to detail why that has happened. But right now, it's just we're rebuilding the pathways is the simple response. Regarding the AP pass rate, the percentage was the same, but there's a yellow star because we are ahead of the 3-year goal. We also had 32 more students take the AAP exam, so we saw that as a big win for our academic goal and our key metrics there. This is goal 2. Reminder, it's the social emotional learning goal. Moving on to the key metrics here, we have chronic absenteeism. Although we saw slight positive growth with respect to this metric, this remains an area of focus as multiple data sources, including the state dashboard, indicate that we need to continue to focus on school attendance. This is a big area of focus for us. It's one of the standout points that you see when you look across several other key data points. Caring adult metric, we are still above the 3-year target of 90% here. It's nice to see a star here, but the 4% decline is not to be overlooked. This is something that we mentioned the first time, and I believe some board members commented about that. It's nice to see a star, but it went from 95 to 91. However, we do like to triangulate the data, and if you look very closely through the report, this remains an area of extreme strength with regard to the interventions and supports that we've put in place that feed this metric. A lot of the qualitative input and the California Healthy Kids Survey data point to a real area of strength across multiple school sites. That caring adult relationships is a real big positive for us, and we're very excited about that because it fits right in with that culture of belonging that we're trying to promote. Active partnership, the 1-year growth was relatively flat here. That's why you see a yellow arrow. But be reminded that we were at 82% in 23-24. So again, upward trend, a flat year to year on that metric. Goal 3, academic support and intervention. There's the language for you. I'm going to move directly on to the metrics. Here we have our state testing results, our primary state testing results, the ELA and CASP results, the math CASP results, and the EL progress rate. You see lots of green arrows there, lots of positives to report. We're very excited about this slide. Although there was a 1% decline in the met and exceeded metric for the English language arts, there was slight growth in the distance above standards metric for that same test, which means that the declining trend was statewide. So there was a little bit of growth in ELA despite that 1% decline. Math, we were extremely pleased with. It was a growth area from last year, and you see 2 green arrows there and significant positive growth in the met and exceeded metric. It went from 57.93 to 60.22. Also in the distance above standard, we went from 16.3 to 20.5. So very strong positive growth in math, which was really reflected in something that didn't make its way into the verbiage of my report, but I heard over and over again. That was very exciting for me when I was in the student input meetings. I was very pleased to hear that when we were asking about favorite subjects and things like that, there were so many students that just loved math and science, and it was just especially at the elementary school. So that was very exciting to hear about, and it also is promising for the future as we continue to develop that math program. Regarding EL progress, we see a red arrow there, which is kind of a warning arrow, but it is something that I explained before. It's a little bit complicated. I'm going to be explaining this again tomorrow. Tomorrow I have a District English Learner Advisory Committee meeting scheduled tomorrow morning right here in this boardroom at 8:30. Something that we went over as a group with our ELD teacher team. We looked at it closely. when you see, and you'll see it in upcoming slides, we had an extremely high performance on the LPAC. So we had a high number of students reclassify. Those reclassifying students do not count in the metric for EL progress. And so that's kind of one of the simple explanations. We have a great program. We're reclassifying at an incredibly high rate. But we have a very small N values, very small number of leftover students who aren't showing the same extraordinary progress that the reclassified students showed in the prior year. Goal 4 is our cultural proficiency goal. We are proud of the work that we do in this area. This is definitely work that I think that we need to carry forward as we think about next year and the whole redesign of the local control accountability plan. It may or may not have the same name, but the work will still be there. We heard during one of our input meetings that cultural proficiency is starting to become a little bit of an outdated term, and that there are different designations that might be more appropriate. Goal 4 metrics, lots of positives here. Bullying, the 3-year goal was 90%. Note the significant increase in the African American metric, but also be warned of the small N value. It's always nice to feel good about this huge jump, but we're talking about just a small handful of students. So little changes in a small number of students can really kind of skew the data. Diverse curriculum, note the steady decline, which is something we want to see. Why is it? It's just the way that the question is asked. It says answer disagree or strongly disagree to this school provides instructional materials that reflect my child's culture, ethnicity, and identity. So we want, that metric to go down. We want fewer people to disagree. We're not certain, but we want to keep this goal a priority. Belonging, we have met the 3-year goal for everybody. That's 80%, as well as the African American and Filipino at 75%. Well, if it's a quick one, I just want to go through all of it first, but if it's a quick one, I'm happy to answer that.
The bullying question, kids knew that basically 100% of the white kids were bullied because of their race. Is that what that's saying?
Never been.
Oh, see.
Never once or twice.
I see. Okay, thank you. Gotcha.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
This next slide is an infographic that I used to just make the table 1.1, which is on page 3 of the board report that I shared with you. Also page 16 of the board packet for those following along. It outlines the significant meetings and events of this year that went into supporting the LCAP and building this report. Some of the events include allyship in education, which we will be attending again this year over the summer. We already have 2 teachers that are showing interest, and we have myself and another administrator that was part of that team in the past. Cultural proficiency events, student parent LCAP advisory meetings, community input sessions, EL education visits. They are all outlined on table 1.1. And these are just the events that help to go toward bringing that input and informing our LCAP development. Data collection approach. This is just a slide that explains what is called the mixed methods approach to research. And it's just simply how we combine quantitative and qualitative data. Quantitative, in simple terms, generally describes what is happening, right? So many students are scoring this percent on a test, or this population is scoring at this level. That's what is happening, but you don't really get to explore why things might be happening unless you ask questions and you hear the stories. And those stories come out in those qualitative responses. But how do you try to eliminate bias from those qualitative responses? You don't just hear those responses and then share your opinion. You go through those responses over and over again. You see where there's overlap. You see where you're hearing the same stories over and over again, and then you triangulate. You look at different data sources and you see how do the qualitative responses establish certain themes, and how do those themes reinforce what we're seeing on the Likert scale type questions, those quantitative questions. So quantitatively, we look at things like the California Healthy Kids Survey. And that when we say quantitative, we're talking about like scaled response questions that can be measured against other that are standardized, that could be measured against other populations outside of PG. CASP scores, LPAC scores, core SEL assessments. That's social emotional learning assessments. Qualitative, we have parent advisory committees, student advisory committees, community engagement meetings, DLAC meetings. That's the English learner, the district English learner meetings, one of which I will have tomorrow. And this combined approach helps and it allows for triangulation of our data. So hopefully, as you look through the data, it's actually more important to me that you all see certain themes stand out, that I'm not telling you what those themes are, that we're all just trying to look as objectively as we can at the data, and that it kind of becomes clear where our strengths are and where our areas of growth are. This next slide is the California Healthy Kids Survey highlights and the student voices in the California Healthy Kids Survey. It's broken down by elementary, middle, and high school. And again, this is just a one-slide recap of more information that is provided in the written report. So elementary, I'd like to discuss the positives first. Perception of caring adults. There it is again, right? We saw that 4% drop a little bit earlier that the board had mentioned during my last meeting. But this metric was at 73% at 23-24. And we also saw positives in improved facilities. I've been in the district for a long time, and this is the first time that I've really I'm starting to hear the stories of like people are noticing the improvements in the facilities, which is really cool. And I think that story is going to continue, along with our Measure B funding. So it's just an opportunity to give credit to John and the MOT team, because it's not it's to get to that threshold. There's like a critical threshold. You're doing all this work just to keep up, and then you do enough where people start to notice the just beautification and that wow, this is real. Things are getting nicer. Another real positive was perceived safety, 95%, and be reminded that safety is one of our core values. So it's really nice to see growth in these areas that we keep on repeating. These are our core values, that sense of belonging, that sense of safety. So 95% of students feel safe to and from school, going to and from school. And it's little things like going to the crosswalk, like we have district office personnel and people, at the crosswalk on Pine Avenue. And it's just, to me, that like gives our little that feeling, our little district, that feeling of like, wow, it's cool to look at the data, but it's even cooler to see the kids smile as you're walking them across the street to school, and that they're actually feeling safe. Middle school, positive, school connectedness. Pardon? That would be nice. Middle school, positive school connectedness was at 56% in 23-24. Again, we have an increase in perceived safety and also a 10% increase in high expectations. In the high school, note how the core values of belonging, safety, and prosperity present themselves here. Increases in connectedness, which speaks to belonging. Increases in perceived safety, speaks to safety, and high expectations, which speaks to prosperity. Growth areas, late bedtimes across the board. That question was just, the kids are self-reporting that they are, and the bedtimes are different at the different levels. So I think it's like 10 p.m. And then for the high school, it's like midnight, and they're not getting to bed by midnight. It's a little bit frightening. And then again, feelings of sadness and emotional distress are persisting. I can't help but, myself think that there's got to be a little bit of correlation between, students staying up so late and not feeling great. Yeah. On their devices, right? And so that work that we're doing, around our tech plan is going to be important as well. So California Healthy Kids Survey, we also survey the family and the staff. And so this slide depicts those two groups together on one slide. We'll start with the family California Healthy Kids Survey. So caring adult relationships, see how that kind of reflects the same thing that the students were telling us, right? Caring adult relationships, there was growth from 41% in 2023, 2024 to 50% currently. So we're real proud about that growth, but look at how much lower the parents score that than the students, right? The students are reporting it, in the 70s and what was 85%, like so much higher than the parents, but they're both growing, right? That caring adult relationship. So it does reinforce the data from the student survey. Note that the student scores were much higher at 85 and 73% on that previous slide. There were increases in respect for cultural beliefs. That's right there, our goal for cultural proficiency, 8% over 2 years. And the school treats the other area, the school treats all students with respect. That was plus 4% on the family survey, which is a positive outcome for our cultural proficiency goal. On the staff survey, again, you see caring adult relationships. So this is showing up on every single one of the surveys, right? And this is one out of like dozens and dozens of questions. Highlighted as a positive, while the perception of bullying decreased. So that's also a positive, and it's a positive for LCAP School 2 and 4, as well as our efforts to build a culture of we. Growth areas, seeking input is higher than 23-24, but it is just such a low number overall. Also, there is a continued need to provide social emotional supports. Seeking input like from families, like feeling that sense of participation in the process. And that's something that also came up in our LCAP meetings, right? And it was a little bit difficult because we were trying to gather input, and we want that. I would love nothing more than to have to have 50 people online right now, and hundreds of people at the LCAP input event. But it's the perception is out there, and it's very real that like we need to do a better job of seeking input. So I'm a believer in total ownership.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times, I think that the continuity circle doesn't always, like, folks don't realize that the LCAP is the input that goes in. I think they probably want more direct input from whether it's teachers or the school sites,
Yeah.
just because that's what they know.
And that's true too. And that's what that actually, it's not, I think what you're saying right there is connected to the data we're looking at right here on the California Healthy Kids Survey, right? So the California Healthy, we've gone through the students, the parents, the staff. The California Healthy Kids Survey it's a great instrument. It also provides school climate report cards, which kind of combines information from all of the different surveys to give a kind of a condensed version and a report for about school climate. And so the school climate report card takes this composite data from all three of those to provide this snapshot of for all of our sites. On this slide, you see growth once again in the caring relationships and safety categories. Those are two that keep on coming up. And that reflects what was presented on prior slides. Also, meaningful participation and parent involvement were positive highlights at the elementary and middle school levels. At the elementary level, school connectedness dropped slightly, but the metric is still up in comparison to state averages and prior years. Areas of focus for the middle and high schools are academic motivation, which came up at the middle school especially, and then the chronic absenteeism, which is a problem throughout the entire district, but especially at the high school, it came up in multiple different ways. It's like, how do we address, how do we keep the students, in school enthusiastic about that, about learning. State testing data. I already went over this really. This is, again, just another way to look at CAST. There's the ELA, math, the CAST. So my prior slide didn't show the science testing scores. And then there's the LPAC again. But what I like about this slide is, first of all, it has the CAST data, which we like to brag about. You look at that year-to-year growth, 55, 56, 63. We're just performing tremendously well in science and really in all those disciplines. And then when you look at LPAC, if you look at the most recent, which is 24-25, you see that jump from 29.76 in 23-24 to 40.98 in 24-25. What that means is those are students that scored a 4. 4 is the highest that you can score on the LPAC, the English Learner Proficiency Examination. And you have to score a 4 in order to be able to reclassify. So all of those students that were celebrating that, they're scoring a 4. We're saying, yay, that's wonderful. And then look at the next slide, right? So the next slide is our state dashboard. And you look at EL progress and you see it as low and it's orange, right? So, and I've talked to MCOE, we talked to the state, I'm like, what's going on here? And they said that they're looking at trying to find a way to include reclassification status as part of that progress. I think it should be, right?
So skewed.
Yeah, but right now it's not. So what we have is a really, really small number of students that could have conceivably scored the same on their assessment, but because they're 1 year older, it's not deemed growth, and so it's not progress. And then think about it, like you also have the students that are reclassifying. When they take the test the prior year, they're probably the ones that are making the progress, and then they're moved out, right? So we have these more vulnerable students, the newer learners that are just kind of being measured against a totally different group of students who made progress and then progressed their way out of the program. But otherwise, we have our state dashboard indicators look pretty good. We're still in ELA very high, and then we're still, with math and college career high. We'll see what happens with that CTE because that feeds college career. And so if that dips next year, not sure where we will be with the college career, but just want to give a heads up. And then chronic absenteeism, that's nothing that we don't know. Like, we need to work on that. This is something that is a problem across the state, and we need to find ways to make progress. And we are making a little bit of progress. It's just still low.
Is it fair to put college/career as one category? Because they're two different things. I would feel better if they were measured separately. It just gives you a clearer picture, like, how are you doing on your career? When you put it together with college, it's a mixed bag. Like, how do you know what?
Yeah, and this comes from the state. It's the state dashboard, and there are a lot of different feeders, that the things that go into that college career metric. It has a little bit to do with, like, the students that are, their state test scores, along with things like CTE completion, things like passing the, like, not the stamp test, but getting the certification for bilingual, right?
Do we get grants based on this from the state?
No, not based on our results, but we do get CTE.
Well, I mean, based on the dashboard.
No,
So the
no.
dashboard is simply for public consumption?
Yes.
But not really for state?
Yeah, you're not
recognition.
winning anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blue ribbon. Yeah.
The California Distinguished Schools Award is based on our dashboard data, and that's our state assessments, right? So
Comes with a free coupon to In-N-Out as the big award. Yeah. So it's an award, but it's not monetary. I think it's the grant part. Yeah.
Is for the independent studies, when kids are away for a little bit longer, those are not counted towards absenteeism? Is that right? Okay.
That's a good question. Do you know, Dr. Adamson?
if students complete the independent study and they turn it in and it's graded, then absolutely it becomes it counts towards their instruction. That's the whole purpose of our bringing in the independent study program. It was intended to also reduce our chronic absenteeism. Right. But there are a lot of steps that have to play into that, right? I mean, if you're gone for 5 days, the students do have to complete the work, turn it in.
Oh,
There's a little bit of a delay with it.
Okay.
And then absolutely, it's not counted as an absence. So
I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the short-term independent study. We don't have an independent study program in our district. So I wasn't sure about that, but the short-term independent study was a measure that we put. That's a great question. It was a measure that we put in place to try to make a difference in that chronic absenteeism metric, right? So if students do complete the work, we don't have to count them as absent, which is wonderful.
Are we keeping data on how many of those requests we're getting, since this is a newly kind of implemented system, the short?
I mean, we definitely have data at all of because it really is this
Yeah.
year, so the site. So, I mean, absolutely. I don't think we've actually correlated that all together, but it would be a good study for us to do at the end of the year and gather that. Matthew Binder is probably able to, run a report through Synergy that, gives us that data. So it's probably something good for us to look at the end of the year.
Yeah, maybe to understand better how many kids are absent due to that reason, and then kind of dig into what's going on with others.
Yeah. I had a thought, again, I was saving for the end, but
It's okay. Yeah. No, we're fine. I mean,
No, I mean, it is good to have these discussions. I think more data will come on that, but I was trying to connect to these a little bit of my some of these concerning threads, I'll just say. And I think talking about the staying up late at night, some of the quotes that aren't in the presentation, but the ones that PGMS continue working to ensure consistent expectations across classes. For the high school, it can be difficult when some teachers don't post everything on Google Classroom. I was marked down for things I missed and when I was sick and couldn't participate. I sent several emails when I missed school and only half responded, which made it stressful trying to catch up on assignments and tests. If you want to talk about things that, again, make kids stay up late at night, these are the kind of things and homework policies, et cetera, we could deal with if we wanted to as a district. That it's hard, but these are the kind of things that we could dig into to help. And I also guarantee you, when you're talking about chronic sadness, feeling that you can't keep up with your workload, speaking as an adult, that's a big contributor to that. So again, I think the data points themselves are useful, but I think the story that they tell when you put them together is what's really powerful. And I hope we can learn from it.
No, you're right on. I mean, that's a good example of we're all seeing the same thing, right? I mean, just we're all looking at the data and then we're seeing the same thing. And it's very true. Like how do we start to make a dent in that chronic absenteeism? It is a needed area of focus. One of the things that we're starting to see a need for, I shared this with PGTA yesterday, was, we're already thinking about next year's going to be the third year of this LCAP. We're already thinking about like, well, what does the new refreshed LCAP look like? And one of the things that we're starting to see a need for is MTSS, like multi-tiered systems of support, really trying to build coherence across our system to speak to, I mean, it's a fancy way to say like, we need more consistency and continuity across our different systems, right? And understanding a little bit more about these multi-tiered systems, learning about it, and then making an effort to implement them, I think could potentially help address that problem, along with the PLC efforts that we need to continue to get better at, right? Like you can't develop any consistency unless there is at least at the very beginning collaboration.
Understanding.
Right? You need to know what's happening in your colleague's room and what's happening there. It's not going to happen with a message from the school leaders to say we need to be more consistent.
Right.
That's not going to happen. It's going to happen through collaboration, PLC work, understanding of multi-tiered systems, and just deep learning that can begin to, I think, make a difference in that area.
Yeah, I just think, again, from a story perspective, like I can imagine a student that's stressed out about a test, ends up feeling sick, stays home from school, gets more work, now can't complete the work, so stays up late, gets more stressed about the test. There's your chronic absenteeism right there. So I like this idea of the systems approach. And again, so many of our teachers are doing a great job. I mean, these are obviously just highlighting, but it's how do we bring those, and probably we'll get, some pushback on this, but how do we bring those teachers that aren't paying attention to those concerns up to that same level that everyone else is at?
And I happen to be on a grading committee. I started this when I did that work and grading for equity work when I was a TOSA at the high school. And it's being revived. It's part of the WASC goals, right? It's like an area of focus for their WASC accreditation, and they're at a mid-year cycle report next year. It's here. Like, we know there's a need. And I know right now, Mr. O'Meara has already convened, and we've supported in the curriculum department with funding to get this group together to start talking about reviving that discussion on what is equitable grading practices. And that opens up discussions about all sorts of things in the classroom. But it's a good starting point. Unless you get people talking, the change is not going to happen. And we're at a point right now where we're having safe discussions, and grading is a very personal thing. So it's going to feel threatening to people. And so digging in there and having discussions that are challenging, but understanding that we're all doing it together is really going to be, I think, a way to start to get people to see the need to support students by having more continuity of practice. Local indicators. So in addition to the state performance indicators, like the state dashboard that we were just looking at, we also have local indicators. LEAs, local education agencies like Pacific Grove Unified, are required to include local performance indicators on their dashboard report. So if you go to the state dashboard, you can actually click on our local indicators report, and that's something that we have to put together every year. The local indicators for PGUSD include the MAP assessment, the core SEL, DIBELS assessment, as well as qualitative LCAP survey results. And the next slides provide a summary of the results on those local indicators. Starting off with the MAP assessment. The MAP assessment is given 3 times a year to all K through 12 students. This slide depicts a comparison of median scores in reading and math. You'll see that the scores remain relatively constant with a dip in 12th grade. That may be the result of something we heard about earlier, that when Laura Lee was presented her award, seniors not seeing relevance of the assessment. So maybe we can get Laura Lee to give the assessment because she has a way of getting and then some of those students are no longer even enrolled in math, right? We pair results of these assessments with other local assessments like the Dibbles assessment at the elementary sites in order to triangulate. And this just shows the fall reading assessment and the winter reading assessment. Like I mentioned, we give it 3 times a year. And so this is happening one more time this year. In fact, I think it's happening next week. And the Dibbles assessment. So Dibbles assessment data can be found on page 16 of the report, also page 29 of the board packet. The bar graph here depicts students at or above benchmark on the Dibbles assessment when you compare middle of the year to the beginning of the year assessment scores. So I think middle of the year is the dark blue and the beginning of the year is the light blue. If you're looking at the 4-colored figure in the board packet, all of these different assessments, one of the convenient things is you always see like blue, green, orange, red, yellow, like you have the 5 different indicators. And so if you're looking at that 4-colored figure in the board packet, the numbers on this slide indicate what would be a combination of the green and the blue scores. This data is depicted in much the same way that the state scores are presented. So if you recall, it's like at or above the standard is what you see when you see the ELA CASP scores or the math CASP scores. But one of the things that we do in our district at the elementary level is we use the red indicator to identify students that need targeted instruction. So for example, the summer reading intervention program, we're not looking at the top 2 that you're seeing here. We're looking at the red indicator, and then we're identifying students for targeted intervention so that we can move them out of that need for support. And it's really cool to be able to see students moving out of that program. I mean, you can literally one by one see, okay, we had 5, now we have 4. This student, you can know their names, right? And we have some incredible intervention specialists that help put that data together, look closely at it, and they care so much about it. What we did this year, we shifted from the old Dibbles assessment to you might recall the M class. And so there was a time during that shift where we were without the data. In fact, we had to work back and forth, and Director Binder was working to try to get them to migrate our historical data into the new M-class system, which is something that they promised us, and it wasn't happening. And so there was a whole background story to that. But the lesson that I took from it is, wow, dude, our intervention teacher, it's so great to have teachers that care so much about these different metrics that they were bending over backwards to make sure that we had that data, and they were able to finally get it in place for us. The core SEL assessment is given 2 times a year in the fall and in the spring. It asks students to give scaled responses to prompts like, I got my work done right away instead of waiting until the last minute. Or I can do well on all my tests, even when they are difficult. The overall scores for all our schools is in the moderately healthy to favorable range. That's where you see 76, 71, and 73 there, elementary, middle, and high school. Or that's the color yellow, which reflects a score between 70 to 76.99. So if we go above, if we go to 77%, you're going to start to see one step up. That would be healthy, favorable. And then if we go above 90, I think it is, then it's going to be extremely healthy, favorable. This slide provides a summary of our efforts to deepen engagement toward goal 4, our cultural proficiency goal. Much of the data that was presented earlier pertaining to things like strengthening caring relationships, promoting meaningful participation, decreasing harassment and bullying, improving school connectedness and safety, we believe reflect our continued efforts towards strengthening cultural proficiency work. These are metrics that show up in Goal 4. We have been working with Angelis and Caroline Haskell this year to expand our restorative practices work, strengthen our ability to respond to incidences of bias and build stronger collaborative practices. We have been meeting, we have a meeting scheduled next week with our leadership team on Wednesday, where we will be planning our cultural proficiency team meeting that will be held on May 12th. This will be our second cultural proficiency team meeting of the year. And one of the questions that we literally yesterday just asked our leadership team is, what do we need to keep this momentum and to move this work forward, right? We believe that the work that we've done, we're seeing positive results because these metrics are going up. And what do we need to keep this momentum and keep this work moving in a positive direction? LCAP community engagement. This slide presents a summary of tables 2.8 through 3.2 on pages 21 to 25 of the report that I've given you. It's also on pages 34 through 38 of the board packet. We held 2 community engagement meetings and distributed LCAP surveys to all parents. Qualitative data was collected and coded by LCAP goal. So for this section, what I did was not just code the data collectively, to divide it by LCAP goal, goal 1. So these were statements that were all clustered around academics. These are statements that were social emotional learning oriented. The tables in this section of the report are organized by LCAP goal. So regarding goal 1, we want to strengthen academic relevance and core instruction by maintaining high expectations and balancing core subjects with life skills learning. All right. So there was an emphasis on life skills and, talk at the high school level of that career technical education pathway, making sure that we still maintain strong pathways. With regard to goal 2, we want to continue our SEL focus while strengthening alignment of the SEL supports system across all sites. Again, that speaks a little bit to that MTSS work that I mentioned a little while ago. Feedback on goal 3 also points to a need for developing system coherence around intervention practices. We will be looking at MTSS as a possible area of PD focus for our next 3-year LCAP cycle. Goal 4, feedback points to a need to bring families into the cultural proficiency work. So family communication is definitely an area of needed growth.
How do you define the social emotional learning? I mean, you use this term a lot.
Yeah.
But how would you define it? Like, you're in a classroom, what particular curriculum is addressing that, or are they all addressing it?
Yeah, so there's there are actually social emotional learning curricula. One of the examples of that is in our EL education adoption for ELA. One of the reasons why our pilot team liked it was that it accompanied some strong SEL practices. And so things like, they have a thing that's called CREW, which is essentially embedding restorative circles, which is the circle work is the one of the kind of the trademarks of restorative practices, where everybody, like, you're not sitting in rows looking at the teacher receiving your education. You're working together. You're getting to know the names of the students in your class, and you're prioritizing relationship over intellectual tasks. Right. So it might be at the beginning of a class, we get in a circle and we talk about, like, tell me something about your day, right? That what's going on in your life and those types of things. And so we're making deliberate efforts to emphasize relationship before moving to task. That's kind of the simple approach to
Maybe
it.
just to add to that,
Mhm.
we've got the toolbox curriculum at the elementary level. I think they also utilize that to a certain degree at middle as well. Second step was the other one. I was trying to remember that one. And so you remember our counselors, at all the levels are involved in, sort of a lot of them will do lessons, in each of the classrooms. At the middle school, we have the advisory, class where they, do that once a week. They embed social emotional learning components, on a weekly basis. So that's the additional.
And at the high school, it's really easy to overlook that's SEL part, because it's very easy to say, okay, open your books to page 86 and look at problem number 4, right? Before you take the time. And I was in a class recently where I just saw an SEL strategy, right? It's like the teacher had a picture of pizza on the board. And it's like, what's your favorite pizza place? And the class was so excited to talk about like their favorite pizza place in Monterey, and people were throwing these things out. And then the teacher transitioned into the lesson, which was just really cool to see the SEL work up front at the high school level.
Well, do you think it would be helpful to have some kind of a description like that either on our website or something? Because we throw these terms around, but the average parent doesn't know, what does that really relate to? But like what you're saying, I get that, just in terms, all of this is very dense in a way.
Yeah.
And so, you want people to be able to read it and come away with kind of an easy understanding of
Mhm.
a lot
Good
of it.
point. Yeah.
So I'm just
Throwing
throwing that out there.
it's an excellent point. Yeah, it's just acronym laden and dense, and it's really easy as an educator to get lost in the acronyms. Where was I here? Did I present this slide? Okay, so this slide summarizes table 3.3 on pages 25 and 26 of the report, pages 38 and 39 of the board packet. A similar qualitative coding process was used to disaggregate data from the Parent Advisory Committee meeting that was held on April 1st. This meeting was well attended and feedback was robust, thanks to Dr. Adamson's typing skills. One of the primary takeaways was the need for improved communication to increase awareness about the site and district initiatives and to build stronger participation. And what you just mentioned right there, Beth, like that's a good example, right? It's like, hey, how do we communicate what SEL is? Again, system coherence through consistent and reliable implementation. There was a lot of talk about implementation. It's one thing to have these policies or have these practices, but it's another thing to make sure that they're implemented in every classroom across the district in a consistent way. There was a lot of talk about technology usage plan during that meeting. It was a prominent theme that was communicated there. Yeah. Oh, that was so in the report that I gave you, the way that I disaggregated the qualitative data is you have a bunch of statements, right? You could have 100 statements or more, and then you have some statements. There are some funny statements that are like yahoos that are filling in the surveys, but you thematize the statements, right? And you identify the theme. And then you literally count up how many statements are there that reflect that theme. Yes, yeah. Yeah, so, yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying, right? If you look at it in the packet, what page is it on? Page 25 and 26. So frequency of 8, consistency and implementation across classrooms and programs. And then 6, student supports safety and behavioral expectations. 2 separate categories right there. And then on communication and engagement. Oh, that's the middle category on page 25. Does that make sense? Student advisory committees. From February through April, I had an opportunity to visit multiple classrooms at all sites to gather LCAP input from students. This slide summarizes tables 3.4 through 3.6 on pages 26 through 29 of the report. Also pages 39 through 42 of the board packet. At the elementary level, the students expressed a strong affinity for their teachers. That was really sweet to hear. Reinforcing the caring adult relationships metric that we saw earlier. I also noticed a lot of positive talk about math and science, which I mentioned. They mentioned that they would like to see more consistency across classrooms, even at the elementary level. Just comments like so-and-so stays in at lunch and does like tutoring class. I wish everybody would do that, right? Middle schoolers also wanted to see more consistency with respect to classroom expectations and grading. They spoke positively about safety improvements and academic support. At the high school, the growing sense of belonging was apparent. That was actually quite a big jump that we saw there, is that students just feeling that sense of belonging at the high school level, which was also supported by quantitative data in the California Healthy Kids Survey. They spoke positively about opportunities, both academic and extracurricular. The students were pleased with the offerings that they had in their different schools. And they too saw a need for more consistency of expectation.
Larry, on the high school input, you're combining 9th through 12th grade responses.
Yes.
And I wonder how it would be if you separated out each grade level, because you know, as a teacher, that you have certain grades that come through that have a certain personality.
Yeah.
And some of them are lovely and some of them aren't. You know, so if you're in a lovely class, it's all good.
Mhm.
And if you're not, you have a different response. So I don't know, I would kind of be interested in seeing that delineation of classes, just to see like, okay, is there one particular level or two that we need to really work on? Because
That's a great observation. So the way that, the way that the sites can do that.
Yeah.
Because the California Healthy Kids Survey is given at 9, you see 9 and 11. Right. And so those are the 2 different grades that you're going to see is 9 and 11. That's on mine. A lot of the input meetings that I have like multiple different, I'm not going to each grade level. Right. So I'm going to leadership teams. I'm going to SPED classes. I'm going to classes that have like a lot of different levels of students. So I think the best way to look at that data is through the California Healthy Kids, because a lot of the questions are similar, and they have the Healthy Kids Survey has a lot. And so, you know, site leaders.
But they just do those 2 levels, 9th and 11th,
Yeah.
the Healthy Kids does.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I just, while we're on that same topic, when it comes to California Healthy Kids, one of the things that I've been doing when I look at the information is looking at cohorts. So,
Yep.
and it would be nice to see the information presented that way too, where, if you follow a cohort, so in fifth grade was 23, 24, and then that same group in seventh grade
Yep.
is now taking the LCAP in 2025, 26, and just looking at,
Taking the LPAC. Oh, yeah.
sorry, the LPAC. And so just watching that cohort and seeing how their answers have changed over time to like caring adult and all the other questions that come up in Healthy Kids Survey. I think that would be really kind of eye-opening to see how their opinions and how their feelings have changed
Yeah.
as they've been in the district. Because I think that makes a difference too. So I know that puts like extra work on the plate, but I just think it would be an interesting way to look at the
To
data.
look at like we do that with like state testing data. And I do that in that, like my fall report. We'll look at cohort and for example, I was just looking at like our math scores, and like there was a little dip at the high school level in the math scores this year. But when you look at the exact same cohort that took the CASP in 8th grade,
It's better than it was.
it's
right?
better
Like,
than it was.
yeah, so that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
And you're like, wait, there's a big
Comparatively-
dip, but it's that same group is actually improved.
So you're actually seeing the true impact
Yeah.
and looking at input that is relative to this specific cohort. And so I think looking at that and following it would give a lot of perspective, because some of the numbers I was like, ooh, but if you track back, you see that there's actually been an upswing or it's fairly consistent. So, I mean, kind of to your point, Beth, about there are classes and, that move through with the same sort of vibe, I guess, and you can sort of track that as it goes. But if you see that the caring adult, in 9th grade, the numbers were lower, but in 11th, they're moving
Yeah.
up in that cohort, something's happening there.
Yeah.
So just sort of
And I noticed, for example, the 9th grade, like the MAP scores. I was like, the high school was like, oh, like not especially 11th and 12th, not so great, but like the 9th grade scores were pretty strong. Like that. I'm like, I like that group. Let's see what they do for the next few years, right? So yeah, I mean, I definitely like that idea of looking at. And it's something that I kind of naturally do, but I can see, like I think what you're thinking, like in a board report, like or in here.
Yeah, and I
we
mean,
could-
like especially for the Healthy Kids Survey specifically, I think it's so important because like I can look at 23 in the elementary school, the 5th graders in 23, 24 about a caring adult. And they might not be the same questions, but 73% felt that somebody cared about them. Well, then when you go to the middle school, that's the 25, 26 class. At my school, there's a teacher or some other adult who really cares about me, 73%. So
Yeah.
just watching that at transition from elementary to middle, it sort of gives a clear picture of how they're
Are
feeling
you
in
looking
a
at
new
the
environment.
actual chicks data that's available?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
But just seeing like how they've transitioned from the elementary school to the middle school to say like, okay, so they're feeling cared about, like that same group. Could we do better? Probably, but
Yeah.
we haven't dropped, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, sort of case study, but like following cohorts.
Yeah,
as
that's
they move.
fascinating. Yeah, like
And speaking of even like social emotional learning and intelligence about what groups of people are doing, I mean, we have all this data here that we could sort of look at and say, gee, is there a class that's beginning to struggle? We can see the.
or
the
what grade level
line.
were they in during COVID,
When-
right? Like, yeah.
Then that's the thing that's happening here. If you look at it too, you can sort of do the math on that. So I got weird with it when I was.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I love that you.
So I just something that to throw out there that we.
There's a lot of different ways we can go with that, but it's yeah, it's a
Yeah.
interesting idea.
I think it's like a good way to have the quantitative stuff be qualitative or narrative at least.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that last report you did where it's visually, it looks like a diagonal or something because you're tracking the cohorts. But also I think it would be good, especially with like the new reading curriculum, to track that over time.
Love it.
So yeah, I'd like to see that stuff visualized, I guess.
Yeah.
Or recognized as well.
Great input.
Just real quick, like one of the things that I did notice was how safe do you feel at school, perceived safety? And if you look at the fifth graders that took this in 23-24, how safe do you feel at school? 74% said they felt safe. And you go to 25-26
Eighth graders
and
or fifth,
seventh
seventh graders.
So from fifth to 73% in fifth grade felt safe. And then you go to 25-26. Now those fifth graders are seventh graders. And how safe do you feel when you're at school at 62%? So looking
Not
at
bad,
that
yeah.
drop and finding out what happened. Is it because you're in a bigger school? Is it because like what? So that's what I'm saying is like that drop or the hormones.
Yeah.
But there's, you know.
Well,
But
I think it's also good to do like the cohort tracking because of our small n size or whatever and the variance.
Yeah.
So like to recognize that, oh, that was like a significant drop and not just a year by year thing. Yeah, it's helpful.
No, I love it. I think it's a great idea. So, summary of key findings. Basically, the slide condenses the report summary, which starts on page 29 of the report, page 42 of the board packet. Strengths we're seeing include increases in caring adult relationships over and over again, feelings of safety and connectedness, strong assessment scores. Please be reminded that these identified strengths perfectly reflect our core values of belonging, safety, and prosperity, and our intentional efforts to build a culture of we. Growth areas point to a continued need for work toward building consistent practices through collaboration and PLCs and improving parent involvement. Next steps for LCAP development is we'll be completing the LCAP draft, holding a public hearing May 21st, gathering final input, and then finalizing for the board packet in May 2025 and presenting for board approval on June 4th.
Thank you, Dr. Hagquist. It was very dense, but also broken down in a way that after staring at this data for the last 4 years as a trustee is starting to make some sense. I mean, it's just dense and it's learning a whole new language and then learning how to understand all of the information in it. It's a lot to process, but thank you for doing the heavy lifting of distilling it all down and telling us what it means. I guess we should go out to public comment because that's kind of the end of our study session and presentation. So if there shall be anybody left on the interwebs or in the room that wishes to make a public comment, you're on the board, Trustee Wax, right now. Really? Someone raised their hand? Oh, I was kind of excited for a public
Yes.
comment.
Maybe they're waiting.
Okay, well, hello and goodbye, and thank you. Okay, without any public comment, is there any further board discussion? I feel like we've kind of gotten into it as we went along, but if anyone wishes to speak, go for it.
Well, in the packet, there was more data from the staff. And I know staff are adults and, jobs are jobs, but like, since there isn't that much churn in our staff, it does seem notable that, especially with our focus on the things that we're focusing on, it would be nice if we could see improvements in those areas too.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's hard, but I think that would translate to even better outcomes academically and for the other goals. And just as, I don't know, it was just sort of vexing to me. And now there's not even 2 people online, but I'd like to hear more about what's up, guys. I mean,
The
and
staff is pretty critical, like when the staff feedback was probably the lowest, and then the parents second, and then the students are pretty positive.
Mhm.
That's been the trend for forever. But that's a great point. Like, is there a way, like, how do we use that professional learning community approach to put the data out there and talk about it?
Mhm.
Like, how do we make improvements here?
Yeah, and I guess this would be more with the parents, but looking at all the national data, the de-enrollment, disenrollment, whatever, of public schools, again, there's some schism or it would just be better to have not necessarily more communication, but more qualitative communication. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's just not troubling. Well, no, it's troubling. I don't know.
What's the troubling?
Well, just like people leaving public school, like I'm
Oh,
a
I
big
see that
believer in
trend,
public
yeah.
school. And then, I mean, for our own district, we pay well, like our students are good. And so like
We shouldn't see that trend.
yeah, I mean, I would just like to know what the more of the gripes are, I guess,
From parents then.
from everyone. Give me everything.
Well, if you're wanting to encourage more public school participation,
Yeah, but I mean,
I just feel like we need to, blow our own horns more. We don't. Like, we're talking about the good old days. And I was telling Linda, like, okay, let's have some stats down there. Let's pass out where our high school kids went to colleges last year and going to, different technical schools, whatever. Like, that's what you need to do, in my opinion. You need to promote it, advertise it in a way,
mhm.
because, and word of mouth among the parents is pretty good, but still we could do a lot better, because I still hear parents that, once their kid finishes 5th grade, oh, they're looking around for some other place to put their kid in. And like, come on, the middle school's doing a fantastic job. And so those are the places, that you need to kind of, I think, put it out there, like, be more uh visible in the community, like, hey, yeah, I mean, now real estate agents, they know our schools are good, they advertise for us, but still, and then of course we're dealing with very affluent population here, and they can afford to send their kids to these, so we should advertise like, save your money.
You also
No.
realize that, like, I've never been a person that really tried to care too much about like perception. Like I think that it's kind of superficial, right? Like, you want to know what the reality is, but you realize that like perception is a big thing, right? And a lot of times it's not even in tune with reality. There's a lot of false perception out there. I mean, we live in a world where that's like very, very prevalent. And it's about, and I hear it even in our LCAP study sessions. It's like people making comments that you're like that's not even true, right? But I heard it from 10 parents, and there's things like that happen, and then they start driving the narrative. And that's frightening, so I hear what you're saying about like, how do you control the narrative too, and how do you use like marketing strategies? I mean, this sounds a little bit superficial, but I remember hearing it somewhere along in my leadership journey, like, if you're ever running a school, you need to make sure that the front of the school looks good when people drive by, right? So have the flowers out there, do everything like that. Make sure that your football team is winning, right? Right. And all of these things that like, you're like, that's not our school, but it makes a difference in like people's perception, right, of the educational value.
Well, I mean, I think Robert Down is like the most beautiful school.
Beautiful school, yeah.
like aesthetically.
Mhm.
And my kids go to Forest Grove, but like it doesn't look as nice, you know. I mean, just the air of the building and everything.
I drive by Forest Grove every morning on my way to work and I every single time look at it. It's so friggin'
Yeah,
cute.
it's cute.
Yeah.
It's so cute.
It's the
And you know,
school in
hold on.
tree.
When
And they
I
can't
when
go
I
in
looked
there.
into this
It's
before the
fabulous.
interview, right?
Yeah.
For me, we drove around over the weekend, went to every single school site. Forest Grove was open. We got to walk on. Honestly, I'd heard about, the big differences between the two elementaries, and both Gavin and I, we went to both Robert Down. We assumed that Forest Grove must be the one that everyone wants their kids in, and the one because
It's right in the middle of this
loved it
magical
aesthetically. It
place.
was beautiful and sprawling, and this gorgeous, like it's beautiful, tucked away in the forest amongst the trees, and so just from an outside perspective, knowing nothing, that's all I'm going to say.
It used to be. Yeah,
Newer.
Forest Grove used to be
The school everyone
the
wanted to go.
school.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then some years went by and then it flipped. And, and it's really the parents and, they drive this whole narrative
Yep.
too,
Ben went to Forest
And-
Grove and it's the same
Yeah.
thing. He's like, I went to Forest Grove. It was like the place to be was
Yeah.
Forest Grove. Everyone wanted to go there. So it was a big deal.
But you're,
Change it.
Well, Measure B hopefully will help
yes.
all of that, right?
Oh, no, I think the
Yeah.
flowers in the front is a great idea. Very low.
They're both completely different campuses. I think
It's
I mean, look, you look at Forest, what the stairs, it's this austere, sort of landing and entrance, and then Forest Grove is just that more beautiful sort of, sprawling,
Yeah.
Natural.
Well,
laid out
Robert
natural
Down,
approach, right?
is nostalgia.
Yeah.
That's what Robert Down is,
There you go.
like
It's
that's.
like a
That's very
museum.
true.
Yeah, it's
You're
like,
right.
wow, it's the last hometown thing,
Yeah.
You're right.
And they do have a great
Yeah.
garden.
They've got the ocean
They
view.
do.
and
They do.
Yeah,
The
it's
garden's
just,
phenomenal.
it's got that nostalgia look, and so does the middle school. And people complain about the look of the high school, and that's, you gotta take that serious, But I do remember that, when North Monterey County first became a unified district, originally, they were just these little one school districts, like Prunedale, Echo Valley, Moss Landing, and then they incorporated.
Yeah.
And they went to build
That
North
big-
Monterey,
Yeah, that big.
North Monterey County
big
High School.
campus, yeah.
And the principal that they hired, he got criticized because he was ordering all this athletic equipment. And some of the kids didn't even have books yet. And they were criticizing him. And he goes, listen, the most important thing is to get a good football team.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing, to start to identify your school, because every school has
It's a
books.
cultural center.
Yeah, and
The band
you
is
know,
playing
and,
and
and he was an experienced principal. He came from down south, but I always remember that because, like, what, these kids don't have. Some of the kids don't have books.
I would say books are important, just on the record.
Yes,
Yeah, books before.
I mean, it was a good lesson. Like, yeah, you need to have that community feeling about your school. And it was a brand new school, and kids had to feel good about going there.
Controlling that perception is
Yeah.
a big thing,
Yeah.
for sure.
Can I just bring up one quick thing? Just talking about back to the staff input. Apparently giving you lots more work, but it would be really cool also to see per site, or like if it like elementary versus middle versus high school. And I wonder, just because we're all human beings, and especially as adults with families and work and different stresses, and this might be too much to do, but giving it a couple of times, getting information a couple different times. And just because it could be that this happened to be a day where people were really stressed out, or
Even
stuff
from
was
the
going
staff.
down from the staff specifically, because I know just from being human being, and if you surveyed me on, let's say, Thursday or a Wednesday, I'm off Thursday, so this maybe like a Wednesday, and I'm tired from the week, I'm going to give a different answer probably on a Wednesday than I might give on a Friday, looking forward to a weekend, or that I might give on a
So
Monday.
being,
after
I
I've
think being strategic.
strategic about when it happens, but also understanding that we're all human. And if I was given the same questions 2 different times, you may get 2 completely different answers out of me, depending on my mood that day. I mean, not that I'm up and down, but I'm just saying like,
Yeah.
so
Like the
that-
self-evaluation that we did for the school board,
Mhm.
you know, there were like lots of, I forget whichever was the bad answer, but you know, we were like, oh, I don't know who did that. Yeah.
One was
yeah. And so, you know, and it would depend on sort of what was happening during that time and what the last meeting was like. And, you know, so I think some of it has to be taken with a grain of salt, but at the same time, it would be nice to know what staff is. I mean, you want people to be honest, but at the same time to know, are they teaching in the elementary school grades? Are they teaching in the middle school grades? Are they teaching in the high school grades? Because stress levels might vary and priorities might vary and what they're seeing might vary. And then we can sort of boil down, are there adults that really care about every student? And you look at numbers that are low. Are there numbers from the elementary school that's pulling up the super low numbers at the high school?
And we definitely like with like each of like, we give folders of like all of these multiple reports of the students to all the surveys to each of the sites. And that's what we do internally. Like when we look at that,
Mhm.
I think as far as like these types of meetings, like I try to keep it at district level data,
Yeah,
right? Because I don't want to start creating like
yeah.
competitions, like public competitions.
Sure, no, I get that, absolutely. But as long as the data is like being looked at in a way that's sort of, so you can designate, not designate, but determine what school might need a little bit
Yeah,
more
oh,
help.
absolutely. And
or
that's
might, like,
absolutely something that we do and
Okay, cool.
That each site does. And it's a big part of their SIPSA development, right? Is looking at their data, right? Is like,
and they
like
pull
we-
this California Healthy Kids data
mhm. And so this is part of like
individually. Okay.
that whole alignment process that we try to build is like we're looking at it here at the district level, and then as the sites build their goals, they're making sure that their goals are aligning with the LCAP goals and that they're using local data, you know, data from their population that's informing their practices. So it's the same process, but at the site level.
I think I understand what you're saying about not creating competition or anything like that, but it would be nice to see staff wise, you know, because it also gives you a climate, a feel of the temperature of staff. And if there's something that we can do to help bolster or give them support that they might need, whether that's, I mean, majority of teachers probably need some social emotional help right now too. I mean, it's hard. So just thoughts, but thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, wrapping up the quality discussion this evening. Thank you, Dr. Hagquist, for your presentation
thank
and
you
for all
all.
your work on
Appreciate it.
the LCAP. Direction is continue with the preparation of the LCAP, and we'll see it again. We'll see it next
Mhm.
month in its draft format. With that, we're on to the adjournment of our meeting. So our next regular board meeting is May 7, 2026, and our next special board meeting, which may be a regular board meeting now, is May 21st, 2026. Good night. That was loud.
Thank you all.